everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we actually have my haul and wrap up for June. Lately I've been hauling quite a few things and I haven't been able to combine a video like this, but I feel like we should be able to do it this time. We'll see exactly how long this takes us, but I feel like if I was to split these videos, it would actually be a little bit too short, so we are going to combine them. We're going to start with the haul first, because I feel like that's the least amount of talking I'm going to do. Then we're going to go into my stats and wrap up for the month as well. And so, without further ado, we are going to go into the haul. I hauled 11 books in the month of June, which does seem like a lot. However, some of these were still Buffy comic things that I mentioned in the last couple months because I broke my book buying ban to buy them, that were still coming in from eBay. So I have everything now that I think I'm going to be able to actually get a hold of. We're almost at the end of my Buffy and Angel rewatch, so sooner rather than later, we're gonna actually start reading all of these, which is amazing because, as you will see in a little bit, the amount of books that I have read that I bought this year is not so great. The numbers are not looking great for me, so these are the ones that still had to come in. Let's start with the things that are actually like all in the same series of things that I already have. So one of the series that I was trying to finish and complete was the Boom Studios reboot of Buffy. And so the one that I have here is Volume 10. This is We Are the Slayer. These are all written by Jeremy Lambert. He was like, I guess, the main writer for these reboot comics, and this is the last volume from like the official reboot. It's a slightly different cover than you sometimes see online, and this is one of those ones that I talked about semi-recently in a different Buffy video, I want to say, like a haul video or an unboxing video, where this I originally tried to get from a third-party seller on Amazon, because that's the first place I found it for a nice reasonable price, because these are out of print. Some of the editions of all these Buffy comics are expensive because they're out of print, and they sent me the wrong comic. So then I found the same people on eBay and they had one book left and I snatched it. So I got a refund for my other one and then I got this one. It's a different cover, but I don't care because I got volume 10. So this is the last volume for the whole Boom Studios reboot. Then there was another Boom Studios one that I didn't really realize was a thing because I was collecting all of the Kevin Wada covers for the first like 12 issues of the Boom Studios reboot. So like I have all the Kevin Wada covers in issues when this was first coming out. But this is a Faith one-shot, I'm pretty sure. I think this is the entire thing. I didn't even realize it was a thing because why would I? I wasn't paying attention. I don't know exactly when this one came out, but it's a Kevin Wada cover and Faith is not on the other reboot ones, so of course I had to get it. So I do have my hands on a Faith one-shot. We will read this as well. Then we have some more Boom Studios things, but these are like extras. They're not actually part of the reboot exactly. So what we have here is there is, again, a sort of like a one-shot. This is the whole thing. Buffy 97, again by Jeremy Lambert. I don't know exactly anything about it. I love the cover of this one though, and the fact that we have like this gradient over here. But yeah, this is gonna be like a one-shot sort of situation. This will be extra. We will read these as well. Then we have another author who took a stab at the Buffy comics. And where's the first one? This one right here. This is The Vampire Slayer by Sarah Gailey. So I have the entirety of this series now, but let me tell you, it was hard to get a hold of. So this is volume 1. This is volume 2. According to all of my research, you were able to get these off Barnes & Noble. I got them through eBay because it was cheaper. But these are used library editions. I got all my stickers off semi-recently, so it's actually not too crazy. They're in very, very good shape. But those were ones that I think you are able to get a hold of if you need to. But then we also have volume 3. This was out of print everywhere. Like I could not find it through like Barnes & Noble or any of that kind of stuff. So again, I had to get it through eBay. This one is not a library copy. It was from a different seller, but I'm so glad to have my hands on it. But then there's technically a 4th volume in that series, and it was impossible to find. everything that you could find online was listed as just like not available. There was, I think, a copy of it somewhere in Europe, I want to say it was, and so there was no way I was going to get my hands on it. So instead, what I was able to do, I got some issues. So this is going to complete The Vampire Slayer by Sarah Gailey. And so these would be what comprised volume 4, but I was not able to find an actual trade paperback volume 4 anywhere. So we have issue number 13, issue number 14, issue number 15, and issue number 16. So this should be the entirety now of The Vampire Slayer. Now there is one more Buffy extra, because again, not exactly part of the reboot, but extra. I think it's called The Last Vampire Slayer, and it's a little bit post-apocalyptic dystopian sort of thing. I'm intrigued by that. But again, volume 1, impossible to find. Volume 2, I have found at a reasonable price in places, but because volume 1 is so hard to find, I don't know if I'm going to get that yet. I'm very intrigued by it. We shall see. But so this is all the Buffy stuff that we needed to get. And like I said, we're going to be starting the reads of these things very soon. Now, besides the Buffy stuff as breaking my book buying ban, the only exceptions to the rule that I have are pre-orders that I have already pre-ordered like way early in the year. I have not placed any more, and book box books, because in order to maintain my subscriptions to Illumicrate and all of those kind of things, you can only skip half the months out of the year. I am being very picky about what I'm actually getting in, and I've been debating a little bit with some of the subscriptions because of cover designs. We'll have to see, but that's the only exceptions. So now I actually only have 4 other books that came in this month, and I'm hoping that number is what we're gonna get closer to in the future because I'm not buying Buffy books as much anymore. So one that I have here that I already did an unboxing for is the Illumicrate that came in June, which is Nemesis Mine by Amy Archer. You guys are only seeing the ring light, but this is going to be fantasy with romance. It's like a male-male romance type of thing. I don't know how much is like fantasy romance, like who knows, romantasy, sure. And this is gonna be basically about a villain character who's not very villainous, but does not want to like lose his position as being the villain, and I guess like the main hero guy, and they strike up a deal of like staged battles and public drama, and then they develop feelings from there. I absolutely love the idea of it. I do think the cover on this is pretty well done. Like, I like the style of this one a lot. And then it does have a reversible cover that is just like a different version, I guess, of the UK cover from the publisher. So I find that very intriguing. And I definitely need to read this, but so I did get this box. And then we have 3 pre-orders from Barnes & Noble. The first one that came in this month was The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston. Ashley Poston does a lot of adult speculative romance, like one of them had ghosts and one of them had a time slip, and I have absolutely no idea what this one is about. But I got it because I liked the other ones that I've read. Every garden has its secrets. Appears our main character is Sophie, who has a temporary job revitalizing the storied grounds at Lilymore House and doesn't expect to fall in love. But then a door appears, never in the same place twice, and it leads her to a secret unfinished garden with a mysterious man back there as well. So again, the sort of magical elements to these I love, and so I had to pick it up. The next one that came in is The Winged Game by Sophie Kim. This is supposed to be like a fantasy. We actually do have like the first edition has sprayed edges, and we have this like cool end paper design. It's the same on both sides. Nothing too crazy under the dust jacket. It's just like purple. But I love the fact that we're getting more like standard editions of books that are very, very pretty, especially at least for like the first edition. But this is gonna be like a sports romantasy. Like, as you could see, they're riding like griffins or something. And so sports romance and romantasy is going to be colliding according to the back here. And I'm just like super intrigued. I've had this on my radar for a while. But basically I guess it's gonna have like a PR fake dating romance type of thing with rivals of this like interesting fantasy game. I'm like completely sold on this. The concept just sounds super intriguing. And so yeah, I know a lot of places are doing special editions of this. I just got the standard because like it's still really pretty. And then the last one I picked up this month is Lost in Space by Rebecca Thorne. This one I'm super intrigued by as well. Again, I pre-ordered it, so I must have been. This is gonna be sci-fi. I'm hoping for a little bit more cozy sci-fi. We shall see. But our main character finds this like derelict starship sort of thing and decides to take it up into space, and then realizes that the moss that was growing on it is like a sentient computer. Like, I'm just super intrigued by this concept. I'm hoping for a queer normative world because that's my favorite type of sci-fi, and I know Rebecca Thorne has done other queer books and things in the past. And our tagline down here is "Human romance is ridiculous." So I'm like, again, just sort of hoping for that kind of stuff. Sounds right up my alley. And so that is everything that I hauled in. We do have a little bit of stats that we go through because of our hauls. I feel like that wasn't too bad, especially because I'm planning on reading all the Buffy and Angel things very, very soon. Like, it's coming up. It's very soon. But what this does mean is I have my shelf reduction stats, and they're not looking so great. I'm gonna pull them up right here. We started January 1st at 588, and every single month pretty much we have increased our number. I read 4 books that we will talk about soon off of my TBR this month. I hauled 11 in that we just talked about. I unhauled 0 extra ones. Those are things that like come off my TBR unread that I unhaul. So my new total right now of TBR books is 657. I would love to somehow end this year under 600. I don't know how we're gonna get to there right now because I feel like I shot myself in the foot with this, but yes, so the month difference from last month to this month is 7, which is actually not too crazy. I would love it to be less, obviously. And my year difference is 69, which means I have added 69 books to my TBR since January that have not come off. Again, I would love to get this down. I would love to somehow have my monthly difference every month be like negatives. Hasn't happened yet. But so that's where we are for that one. And then the other stat that I've been trying to track for you guys every month is my percentage of books read that I bought. So again, I bought 11 things. It's on my spreadsheet. And my percentage read right now is 8% because I am officially at 100 books bought this year, which is better than last year. I definitely did way too many last year, but that means I only read 8 books so far. I'm really hoping this number goes up quite a bit once I start reading all of those Angel and Buffy things, because some of them are going to be rereads. I already have them. Some of them are going to be off my TBR. I've already owned them for years, but quite a few of them I did have to buy this year as well. And so those will start to be checked off. Hoping to start that this month, but yes, 8%. Not where I would like to be. I usually try, I want it to be like 50%. It's not there, obviously. Okay, so let's go into my other stats. Let's talk about the things that I read this month. So for the month of June, I read 8 books with no DNFs. I feel like that was pretty good. Much better than last month in May. May was my lowest month of the year so far. It just, you know, slumpy month. I feel like we did a lot better this month. Of those 8 books, I actually read 2,455 pages, which is great. As long as I can hit a minimum of like 2,000, I feel like we were doing amazing, and I did. Now, I did not have any audiobooks in the month of June. I probably could have, but I didn't. I have been listening to like the Anne of Green Gables series, and I skipped June so I could focus on like Prideopoly and things like that. So I am planning on having some more audiobooks coming in the next like month or so. So that was definitely different than the last few months. But besides that, let's get into like my averages and things. My average amount of days to finish a book this month was 4.87. So almost 5 days, but not quite. My average for finishing a book in days for the whole year right now is over 5 days, and this was under 5 days. So I'm taking that as a win right now. If I was really counting per book, some books take me 1 day, and then some books took me like a week. So like that's, yeah, it makes sense for me right now. I would like it to be lower because I know I can do it better than that, but it's okay. The average amount of pages per book that I read this month is 306.8, so just about 306, 307. That's pretty good. I want to say most of the books I have been reading this month have been over 300 pages. However, I did read a little bit of manga this month, and those do not usually get that much, so that does make sense. The average of like the books that I read is probably a little bit higher, but then I added the manga in as well. still doing fine. As for the reading method, all of the books that I read in June were physical reads. I did not read any ebooks or audiobooks this month. Going down to the genre, I had 3 contemporaries, 2 romances, 1 romantasy, 1 sci-fi, and 1 paranormal. I feel like that's a pretty good mix. For the book format, 5 of them were novels and 3 were manga. Like I said, I did read some manga this month. As for indie or traditional, this is our biggest split so far this year, which is great. I had 4 traditionals and 4 indies. I feel like indie is usually on the lower end, especially with a lot of book publishers picking up indie authors and re-releasing their books traditionally, but I definitely had some indies this month, which is great. For how I got it, 4 of them were from the library and 4 of them were owned off of my owned TBR. For the age category, 4 were young adult, 3 were adult, and 1 was new adult. So again, a pretty even split actually, whereas usually I read more adult versus young adult, but 3 of those 4 were my manga, and they are definitely young adult manga. We'll talk about those. I have been also tracking the publication year. For that, 6 of them were backlist. 1 was published in 2024 and 1 was published in 2025. Backlist is always going to be the biggest category, especially if I'm reading things off of my TBR, but I did not read any of my arcs this last month because it just didn't fit into my schedule. I need to do that because I do have a couple now. They're a little bit late, so hopefully in the next month we will be picking those up. And then another thing that I've been tracking for the last couple years is where the author is from. I track this once per author per year, but I do make sure that when we do our monthly stats, I'm making sure that those authors are being tracked at least once per the month as well, so you guys can see. But all the authors that I read this month were new this year, for this year, so I hadn't tracked them previously. So I did have 4 authors from the United States, 1 from England, and 1 from Japan. And then I think the only other thing that we do track is that star rating that we will talk about. So I had an average rating of 3.75, which is slightly higher than my yearly average rating right now. My yearly average is like 3.69, so like just slightly lower. But I did not have any 5-star reads this month, so that is a little bit of a bummer. Like, it wasn't necessarily a bad reading month. I feel like my reading, like pace and things was doing pretty well, but I didn't have anything that was like amazingly outstanding. So I did have 1 4.5 star, which would be my favorite book of the month. We will talk about that. 5 4 stars, 1 3 star, and 1 2.5 star. So again, my majority of reading was a 4 star, which is still really good. Those are still things I would normally want to keep on my bookshelves and things like that, but I didn't have any 5-star reads, which is a little bit sad. And so we are now going to jump into all 8 books that I read in the month, starting with the 2.5 and then working my way up to that 4.5. And a lot of the books that I'm talking about today, I read during Prideopoly. And one thing that I was doing with Prideopoly was reviewing the books in depth when I came back to roll for my next book, because we had to roll individually and like read the books in order. So I will try to be as concise as I can here and then link everything down below. And so this 2.5 that I have here is one that I talked about in Prideopoly, and that is going to be You and I Rewritten by Chip Pons. So like I said, this is the book that I gave 2.5 stars. When I first came back to talk about this, I considered giving it a 3 because it wasn't necessarily bad, but then I realized I had more things that I was annoyed by and nitpicking that I just couldn't get out of my head. Then I didn't. And so yes, I didn't really like this book. This was a workplace romance, but it was very insta-love. And yes, this is the Rainbow Crate edition. In the nutrition facts, it tells us it's insta-love, but it was like nobody considered that you're dating your boss and like all the situations that should come up with that. It just felt very off to me. We also had some like friends and family situations that, again, I was just wishing for more development. And so in general, this one fell a little bit flat. Now, I've been interested in other books by this author that I would definitely consider. It just, this one didn't quite work. Moving to my 3-star, this was another book that I read for Prideopoly, and it's going to be Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. Again, this one I just wanted a little bit more from. This is supposed to be workplace rivals to lovers type of situation, and it just, again, felt like we needed more from it. These are both people that draw, like they're illustrators, they're going to be working at the same company. One has been there for a while, one is new, and they're supposed to have met in college and known each other from art school and like now they're going to be rivals. I didn't really feel the rivals. I didn't really feel the like prior knowledge. Like I just wished for more from that. They are very googly-eyed over each other quite early. And then the part of the reason I picked this up is it has an art competition in here because the prompt that I had it for was for a trial or competition. And that thing didn't really feel like it had enough weight to be one of the main parts of the story. Again, it was mentioned in the nutrition facts from Rainbow Crate. So again, I was just wishing for more. Like I felt that it was pretty good writing, but I needed more from the characters and the relationships. Okay, moving into my 4-star reads, we're going to skip a couple because they're part of a series that I will talk about in a little bit. So the next one that I wanted to talk about is Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. So this one I did read for Prideopoly, but I didn't get to have an actual like, let's review it because this was my last roll of Prideopoly. I'm giving this 4 stars. This is a YA, and I picked it up because we are on a space about asexual characters, an ace book that was recommended. This is something that I saw recommended by Kayla from Books and Lala years ago, I want to say. And overall, I really liked the story. We follow our main character of Elatsoe, who is Ellie. She usually goes by Ellie, and her cousin was killed, and he came to her in a dream saying that he wasn't just killed, he was murdered, and she has powers with ghosts and things. You don't bring humans back as a ghost, so she only has like a ghost dog, but I guess the seeing people, seeing spirits in a dream is part of that. So of course her family 100% believes her and is like, we need to figure out why he was murdered, how he's murdered, etc. I really liked the idea of the mythology in here, especially with relation to her and the ghosts and things like that. The writing style was quite simplistic for me. Like I was wishing for a little bit more from it. Like I feel like the writing style was the biggest detriment to me. But also this is a world that has more than just Native American, indigenous cultures and the ghosts and stuff with Elatsoe. We also have like vampires and things. And the way that it was brought up was very interesting because like I wanted to know more. When you read the summary, like I was gonna say the back of the book. The back of the book doesn't have a summary, but like the synopsis, it doesn't tell you anything about a bigger, wider paranormal world. It only talks about Elatsoe and her gift and her family. And so when we're just like casually mentioning vampires and things, I wanted more from that. I wanted more world building, and instead it's just like taken at face value. And this is set like in the United States, like they go to Texas, like, and it's just Texas. It's not a different United States, it's the United States. And so again, I was just like, huh, this is a very intriguing concept, but I wanted more. Same thing with the whole storyline. Like I liked the idea of the whole murder mystery, figuring out type of thing, especially related to her powers and things like that, but I wanted a little bit more. I do think it was very well done in the concept, and so it is a 4-star. It's not like a new favorite, but I would be very intrigued to read more by this author. I just wanted more from it. Maybe that's my biggest thing this month. I wanted more from a lot of things. But I liked the idea of it. I liked the fact that we definitely get her as being asexual on page. I'm pretty sure I've seen in some other reviews and things that she's also aromantic. They didn't mention that as much, but they definitely said asexual. And so I liked that fact in here. I liked her family and her friendships. I just needed a little bit more from that, like that world building. My next 4-star is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is something that I'm reading for a vlog, which I have a couple more books to read, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But this is an over 600-page romantasy, and so I think the 4-star is really related to that fact. It took me a little while to get into it. Once I got into it in certain areas with certain relationships and characters and world building stuff, I was in it. I need to know what's going to happen in the next book, but it took me a while to get there, and so yeah, 4 stars. My next 4-star is Junker 7 by Olive J. Kelly. So again, another book that I read for Prideopoly. This one I really did enjoy. When I first started it, I thought it was going to be higher than a 4-star, but my biggest issue with this is the world building. Again, I love the characters, I love the relationships and friendships, and we have some like blossoming romance and things in here. I love the writing style, but the world building is just not quite for me. This is something that is set over 200 years in the future when humanity is living on many different planets. It is far-flung, far-reaching, but we have this like one presidential person who is in charge of all of humanity. They are very right-winged, and so in this world it is very transphobic, homophobic, etc. And so our main plot line here is that Castor is smuggling Juno, who is a trans activist. I went into it thinking they are trans and an activist. No, they are trans and their activist nature is because of trans rights. So this is just something that, for me, I want my far-reaching sci-fi to be queer normative, because I can't imagine something like this where humanity is so far spread being so small-minded. You know what I mean? So for this one, I think everything was done very, very well, but that sort of world building that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to be so repressive. I wanted better for them, but I liked it a lot, and I need to see what's going to happen in the next book. Okay, and then we are going to be talking about the other 2 4 stars that I have, but also the 4.5 star that I have, because they are all part of the same series. They were my manga, and it is going to be Insomniacs After School by Makoto Ojiro. I read volumes 10, 11, and 12, and this is a series that I've been borrowing from my library for a while. I do think I potentially want to own it, because I've just been really, really enjoying it. I gave volume 10 4 stars, volume 11 4.5 stars, and volume 12 4 stars. Some of the books in this series I've been rating 5 stars, and then I do feel like some of them are a little bit more just like transition books, like we're not getting a ton of new things. This is a series that follows 2 characters, a boy and a girl, I can't remember their names off the top of my head right now, who have insomnia for different reasons, and in the first book they both sort of go up into the astronomy tower at their school, and they go there for like taking naps because of the insomnia. But in order to stay there and be friends and things like that, they have to start the astronomy club, and one of them learns how to use a camera to take star pictures and things like that. We have a little bit of a blossoming romance and things. I've really been enjoying this. It's very cozy and things. I just wished for a little bit more from some of the volumes that I read this time, because some of them were really, really good. And these ones were good, it's just they weren't as much as I was hoping for. And I think it was just because some of them are very slice of life, going about their day, whereas other books in the series have been a little bit more about the backstories of characters. We have some medical stuff going on with one of them as well. And so like we get more in-depth, more character-driven things, whereas other ones that we had here just sort of felt like they were going through the year, throughout their day, that kind of thing. One of them, we had a time jump, which felt very sudden to me. Like I liked what we're reading, but at the same time I wanted more. So yeah, like I said, I think the takeaway from this month is that I wanted more from a lot of the books that I read. And so nothing was a 5 star because of that. But overall, I had fun reading a lot of the things that I did. So that is going to be it, I guess, for today. We had my haul, which I think is going to get better in the future. And we had my wrap up, which again, I hope is going to get better in the future. And that's going to be it. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye.